So, good evening. Good evening to our October meeting of the Equity Advisory Group for the Interstate Bridge Project. Next slide. So, my name is Dr. Roberta Suzette Hunt, and I am the facilitator for our meeting, our group. Closed captions are in English and Spanish. English closed captions are available within Zoom and YouTube. Users can follow this link to view both English and Spanish captions in a separate browser window, ibr.news/caption. Next slide. Reminders, we encourage EAG members to turn on your video. Please say your name when you begin to speak. If you experience technical difficulties, please contact program staff at 360-329-6744. Next slide. We will have public input instructions, so there will be an opportunity to provide brief public input later in the meeting today. To submit input after the meeting, email comments to info@interstatebridge.org with EAG Public Comment in the section line. Call 888-503-6735 and state EAG Public Comment in your message. So for our agenda today, we start with a brief icebreaker. We will have the program administrator update, discuss the program area tour, updates regarding the CBO mini grants. We will talk about the Community Benefits Advisory Group overview and the Equity Framework update and accountability report out and discussion, followed by public comment and close. We'll close today at 7:30. So for our icebreaker, your name and pronouns, your affiliation, and if you had to teach a class on one thing, what would it be? All right, Nicole.
I have been obsessed with this icebreaker ever since I saw it this morning. So I am Nicole Chen. You can feel free to call me Nikki Chen. My pronouns are she, her. And if I could teach a class, it would be on emotional intelligence. I feel like that is needed in all aspects of life. Yeah.
Did you say your affiliation, Nicole?
Oh, girl, I did not. I am the business partner for the city of Vancouver, specifically the Office of Equity and Inclusion.
Awesome, thank you. All right, next. Sabrina.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Sabrina Owens-Wilson. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Director at Metro. And I would teach a class on baking. I bake lots of things. I also decorate cakes. It's fun to create something.
Awesome. Awesome. Next up.
Well, I'll go next. I'm Vicki Nakashima, and I'm a community member living in Camas in East Vancouver. I'm one of the founders of Partners in Diversity, which is a coalition of employers in Oregon and Southwest Washington. I use she, her. Did I say that? Lots to cover here. If I were to teach a class, I would teach a class about networking for young professionals.
Awesome. Awesome. Next up. How about you, Albert?
Good evening, good afternoon, Albert Lee, pronouns agnostic, community member living out here in Hillsborough. And if I could teach a class, I think I'm going to go with sticking with the cooking. I will teach a class in making some decent fried rice.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, Jim. No? Okay. All right. How about you, Shona?
Sorry, this is Jim. I apologize for the delay in unmuting myself. I'm Jim Ruddle. I'm with the GEC as program manager. If I were to teach a class, I think it would be on woodworking.
Cool. Cool. How about you, Shona?
Hi, good evening. My name is Shona Carter, she, her pronouns. I am the Director of Partner Engagement and Investment with the Black Future Co-op Fund, which is a statewide fund specifically for the Black community. And I would probably teach a course on philanthropy, community philanthropy.
Much needed. All right, John.
Good evening, IBR family. John Garner, he, him, TriMet. If I was going to do a class, it would be on illustrative art.
Huh. Neat.
It would be fun.
How about you, Karen?
Good evening, everyone. Karen Urata. I use she, her pronouns. I am affiliated with the IBR. I'm transit design lead. Yes. And if I had to teach a class, it would be on pickling and jamming.
Cool. All right, Jennifer. Oh no, we can't fully hear you. No. Oh, it's okay. We just hear it in a muffled way. That sounds good. Okay, cool. All right, Barbie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Barbie Alexander. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Shared Prosperity Program Analyst for the Port of Portland. And if I could teach any class, it would probably be on brain chemistry and neurobiology. In my previous life, I worked in movement disorders and did medicine. And so when I go back to that, that's my first love.
Wow, fascinating. All right, Aiden.
Good evening, everyone. Aiden Gronauer, pronouns are they, them, or he, him. I'm the Civil Rights Manager for Interstate Bridge. Let's see. On a heavier note, I feel like I would want to teach a class on empathy. I feel like the world could use that right now. And then on a lighter note, I would want to teach photography. That's one of my passions, so travel photography.
Thank you. Lucy.
Hey there, Lucy Hamer. I'm on the IBR equity team, but for EAG, I'm more of a fly on the wall, just here to listen and learn. I use she, her pronouns, or any pronoun used with respect. And if I could teach any class, I think it would be DIY hydroponic gardening, just how to grow your own stuff at home. Thank you.
And that, besides Jennifer, unless Jennifer's sound is fixed, but Jennifer's the last EAG member. Hasn't gone.
All right. All right. So how about Administrator Johnson? Why don't you first tell us what your class would be, and then take it away.
All right. Well, excellent. If I were teaching a class, I'd probably teach a class on world history, one of my passions. So, all right.
Awesome.
Well, good afternoon. And I guess it still is afternoon, everyone. And I want to thank folks for the folks who could join us for the program area tour. I thought it was a lot of fun and a lot of good exchange. So someone else is going to cover that issue, but that's one of the things that we've been trying to do as a program is get more people out. We're inviting a number of different folks to come on tours to understand the complexities of this program. So we had the Washington Transportation Commission, as well as the Washington Joint Transportation Committee out of the legislature, and just had great conversations. And folks, the light bulb comes on once folks see how, number one, crowded this corridor is, the condition of the bridge, because some of the folks aren't from this area, so they get a chance to walk on the bridge and feel it shake. And so that is one of our, I think, one of our best outreach things that we do is those program tours. So we also had a congressional roundtable, and this was where we actually had the White House infrastructure czar, Mitch Landrieu, came to town and spoke to the community about infrastructure in general, but a lot of the conversation was focused on this bridge and how we get that done. So a very, very good conversation. He's very engaged, and once again, this is on the radar in Washington, D.C. So the presentations we've done, we continue to do them, and I just finished a presentation this morning that's not on the list. Spoke to Compto, Washington, who had a desire to hear. And for those who are not familiar, Compto is the Conference of Minority Transportation Officials. So had a great conversation with those folks. They're very interested in seeing how some of their members can participate in this program. But we're talking to technical groups like the Western Bridge Engineers Seminar, community groups. We're also talking to, we talked to the construction trades. John L. and myself were down in Klamath Falls a couple weeks ago, talking to the to Oregon State Building and Construction Trades. So this is an all-out conversation to get folks, number one, up to speed on where the program is at and what we're doing, but also to get them ready for participating when we have the draft supplemental document hit the streets this sometime midwinter. So, but very good conversation. So let's go to the next slide, please. Well, I guess that was my slide. So I will, any questions? Once again, the team is still focused on getting that draft supplemental document out. So we are very busy. We are still on schedule, and we are we're having challenges getting all the reviews done from our federal partners, but they are fully committed to our schedule and making sure that we stay on time. So I'll take any questions or concerns that anyone may have. Well, you guys are easy tonight. All right, Dr. Hunt.
This is Shona. I have a
Oh.
question real quickly about the tour. I was not available for the tour this last time, but I was wondering if another one is happening soon.
Yeah, we will have more tours. If you're interested in one coming soon, we can fit you in with a different group. So let us know, Shona, and we will make sure that you do get a chance to see the program area.
Thank you.
John.
So John,
Hey, Greg, thanks for the update. What kind of questions or what kind of support did you get visiting so far down south of the Oregon State Construction Board?
the building trades folks are very enthusiastic and supportive of the program. They wrote us a wonderful letter of support for our grant application. They are interested in a couple of aspects. Number one, they want to see a community workforce agreement or a project labor agreement on a number of the projects associated with this bigger program. And they're also interested in workforce. So we have, I let them know we have a workforce study underway that is looking at the delta in needs versus what's in the pipeline for workforce, and also that we will be looking at how we can make our workforce more diverse by using targeting zip codes of folks who are underserved on programs like this. But it was a great conversation. They are tremendously supportive, as is the Washington State Building Trades Council. So yeah, it is very, very strong support.
Awesome, thank you. Good news.
Other questions or concerns that I can answer? All right, well, Dr. Hunt, I will turn it back over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, so let's talk about the program tour report out. So we had on the tour Albert and Vicky. I have Soko and Darcy. I have a comment from Darcy. Darcy Hoffman from Workforce South Washington said, "Hi Jake, my apologies, but I'm out of the office today. The tour of the program area is really helpful and definitely gave me a better idea of the program's impact. I learned a lot and have a better visual now on the bridge and all of the other streets, on and off ramps, auxiliary lanes, transit stations, etc. that will be improved. This isn't just about a bridge. The other traffic and neighborhood connections and improvements are so important. These tours are also a great way to connect in real life with all of the various IBR committee members. Highly recommend to all of you." So for those who were present on the tour, would you share some of your insights and impressions?
Dr. Hunt, if I may.
Please.
Awesome. Well, I finally made it to one of these tours, and Jake reminded me that I missed a previous tour because of the incredible amount of traffic. And, that's kind of the whole point of this bridge replacement, is to figure out ways to build a better conduit between the two states. The biggest takeaway that I had from the tour itself was just the strong emphasis on multimodal transportation, not just being extra lanes for cars, but having dedicated routes for public transit as well as for pedestrians and bicyclists. And I love the highlight about putting in the various points for viewing, the beautiful landscape that's around the bridge. The one thing that I threw out there was, be awesome if we could have some kind of a high line on top, sort of like the New York park. But the tour was great. Appreciate all of the hard work and the effort that folks have put together to coordinate that, especially on a busy afternoon with a little rain at the very end.
Thank you. Thank you. How about Vicky and Nikki? You both were there.
Well, I thought it was an excellent tour. There were some ahas that I had. One is Jansen Beach, how it's declined. It used to be more of a thriving shopping area and place people wanted to live on Hayden Island. And it seems like it's declined just in terms of vibrancy. So along with the bridge, I think there needs to be some revitalization of that community because it's such a perfect area for people, for a destination that can compete with Vancouver, and you don't have to go all the way over the bridge. The other thing is there was a comment made by one of the staff. We were asking questions about the number of injuries or deaths that happened on that bridge. And because the traffic has to go so slow, almost day and night, it sounds like there are not that many serious accidents. So in terms of what will it mitigate, I think the story maybe needs to be a little bit different in terms of it's that you won't spend so many hours trying to commute to work or commute home or feel unsafe. I mean, a lot of people, I think, particularly on the Washington side, feel like they don't like to drive in Portland, or they feel that the traffic on the interstate is a unpleasant experience, if nothing else. But so, the safety in terms of accidents or fatal accidents is probably, I think they even had some numbers that were not terribly concerning because people can't go fast enough to get in a bad accident. I agree with Albert. I have to say we had a major event for the first time in Vancouver for Partners in Diversity. It was a Say Hey event at Clark College. And on that day that we were expecting, we had 500 people registered. It was one of the first post-pandemic events in person. Somebody going to a gun show tipped over or somehow got stuck on the bridge with a trailer full of guns and ammunition. And the people who were coming to our event were stuck on the bridge for, some of them, 5 hours. And I don't think there had been as serious a situation that clogged up that bridge for as long as that particular incident did. It turned out that he wasn't a terrorist or anything. He was going to a gun show. But the precautions caused the bridge to entirely shut down both directions. And then people got stuck on the 205 bridge trying to get around it. So it turned into a mess. But I think that some of those stories, people have gotten stuck and they had a story to tell that makes thinking about holding an event across that bridge not a good idea if you've not planned one before. So those are just some observations that I would have. But I love the tour, the bus. I thought the people on the bus were really interesting. Got to sit and talk to some of the people when we got off that we don't talk to. We just see in a little box. And most of them were a lot taller than I thought they were in a Zoom box.
So,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Hunt, if I could weigh in on a couple of issues that Vicki brought up. Jansen Beach, we are going to have a profound impact on Hayden Island with this project. And I think it's going to be a profound impact for the good. One of the folks who was on the tour is a member of our Community Benefits Advisory Group and represents Kimco, the owner of a number of the retail outlets on the island. And they have a vision for what this is going to look like in concert with the investments that the program is making. So I think this can be a positive, and to have a smaller footprint with our ramps on Hayden Island, I think is going to make a difference as well. But great observation. And as far as the traffic, the last fatality, I believe, was over 5 years ago, I want to say. So every now and then there is a fatality, a traffic fatality on the bridge. So not all are just the slow side swipes and rear ends. But once again, you're absolutely right in your observation when an incident happens on that bridge, and one happened, I think it was a week ago today. There was an accident on the bridge and at 6 a.m. and it impacted traffic in Vancouver all the way until 11 a.m. So you're absolutely right. There's some great stories that need to be told about how this modernization of this bridge can help those type of situations.
Thank you. Thank you. How about you, Nikki?
Hi, I am a visual learner. And so actually being on this tour and actually being able to bring my imagination to life and see what was trying to be explained to me on a screen was absolutely necessary. I now not only have a deeper desire and excitement for what's to come, but I now feel confident in having conversations around what's to come next and what it looks like and where this project is going and how and who it will impact has been brought to life as well. And so I'm very grateful for this tour, and my team was a little jealous and they're like, I want to go on a tour too. I want to see. And I was like, I'll see if I can get you hooked up. So I might send you some emails. But yes, thank you for this. It was really very, and also to add to what Vicki was saying, my top number one, yes, the tour was amazing, but number two was the people on that bus. I really, really appreciated the diversity of what was represented that day in general. Just all of the participants was really, really nice and a great group of people to be around. And for those of you that I met for the first time, I'm grateful. And those of you that are friends, Aiden, what's up? It was nice to see you again. Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. And Soko Soko Eth also from ERCO wanted to share their thoughts. One takeaway I wanted to share would be the continued efforts to visualize the bridge. I found that the tour did a great job of showing us as Equity Advisory Group the specific impacts at each location. For members of the public, replicating that experience somehow in a virtual low stakes view would be very helpful to the public education efforts you all are doing so well on. For example, the height of the various parts of the bridge location of the stations, and possible other points along the route where we conceptually are still in development planning became clearer as I listened to folks discuss height, limitations, and other considerations needed. I appreciate the thoroughness of the explanations, the work completed, and more work needed to make the IBR move forward. Overall, it was very clear what our role needs to continue to be in implementing the equity objectives as the project moves forward, especially as further designs and engineering solutions came forward. Thank you. So cool. Great. So thank you, everyone. I look forward to more opportunities to go on the tour. And now we're going to talk about the CBO mini grants update from Salome Chumuku, Community Engagement Lead.
Hello and good evening, everyone. This is Salome here, Salome. My pronouns are she, her, and I am still your community engagement lead over here at the Interstate Bridge Replacement Program. I'm gonna spend some time just giving you a quick update on community engagement, as well as our small scale, low barrier miniature grants that the program has launched. So next slide, please. So as a quick update, this community engagement team had a very busy summer. We will have gone to 18 total events if you count the event that we're going to this Saturday, with an even split between Oregon and Washington. We engaged with more than 1,200 individuals at a diverse range of events. And approximately 50% of those events were centered around equity priority communities. And the way that we looked at what we mean by centered around equity priority communities is that the organization that was hosting the event was representative of our equity priority communities, and the event itself was advertised as such. And so with that being said, as you can see on the slide, we have a couple of comments that we heard while our folks were out tabling. What you don't see, however, in the picture are moments and times that we ran into some EAG members at some of these events, but we do have photos of those as well, if folks are curious to see photos that they took with us while tabling. Next slide, please. And so to get into it, as some of you may recall, back in 2021, the program had a round of community-based organization and miniature grants. These grants are to provide the CBO with resources to help extend the program's outreach through their networks. This is to just recognize that the community-based organizations have larger networks and reach into our equity priority communities, and partnering with those CBOs to reach to their members and beyond. And so this year we launched the program again. We awarded grants to 8 different organizations with various equity priority communities represented within their cohort. And we award a total of $50,000. These organizations will work with IBR to distribute program-related information and events on a monthly basis, co-host listening sessions, community forums, and community briefings with the IBR staff, as well as promote IBR events and meetings on their digital and social channels. All 8 organizations operate as and/or are fiscally sponsored by a 501c3. And we will work with the organizations to help prepare our equity priority communities for the release of the draft supplemental environmental impact statement this winter. And so that's a little bit of an overview of the miniature grants. If you go to, I believe there's, so what you don't see here on the slide is we weren't quite ready when we were making these slides to say who were awarded these grants, but now that they have all accepted, I can list some of them, but you will also receive that information via email. to learn a little bit more about those organizations and the communities in which they serve. And we started our onboarding sessions with the CBOs just last week, and we have another session this week to fully get them all integrated and to get ready for that period of public comment that we're expecting with a release of the draft SCIS. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions that folks might have for me. But just so you all are comfortable, I did not cut my hair. It's just big enough to where the backdrop thinks it's part of the backdrop. And so I am not that stressed out. I still have all my hair.
Thanks, Salome. Thanks, Salome. All right, any questions for Salome? All right, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we are going to move on to Shannon Singleton talking about the IBR community benefits. So.
Thank you. And hello, I am Shannon Singleton. My pronouns are she and her. I am leading the community benefits work for IBR. Next slide, please. So we've started this community benefits discussion and really are drawing on the work from this group as well as the CAG, as you'll see in a moment here. But we're rooting these recommendations within the equity framework. You all are very familiar with this, so I'll go ahead to the next slide. So we are categorizing each of these, again, along these equity objectives. So mobility and accessibility, physical design, community benefits, workforce equity and economic opportunity, looking at the decision-making process and the recommendation process for this group, as well as the category of avoiding further harm. Next slide. In addition to having this overlay of the equity framework, the charge of the Community Benefits Advisory Group is also to utilize the values and priorities developed by our Community Advisory Group, the CAG. So you'll see those here as part of that overarching frame that we're asking the Community Benefits Advisory Group to use, including things like informed data-driven decision-making, improving resiliency to global climate change, and cost effectiveness, to name a few. Next slide, please. So community benefits is often used interchangeably, or a community benefits agreement is used interchangeably with community workforce agreements and project labor agreements. And we want to be really clear what we're talking about when it comes to the IBR program. So our community benefits will be developed with extensive community involvement. They will recommend a range of potential benefits for the local community. It is a cornerstone of how we're implementing equity and our commitment to equity. You will see this, we'll work with the community benefits advisory groups and the program staff to have some of these benefits captured in contract specifications, in environmental documents, or some items that might be referred to the project labor and/or community workforce agreement table or tables. And additionally, we're working with our program partners and other parties to look at this cooperative commitment. Next slide, please. IBR community benefits will not be a specific agreement just addressing community benefits, and it is not meant to reflect or be our PLA or our CWA. Next slide, please. So here's just a visual to help see how some of these can be overlapping. So in different communities, sometimes you'll see these elements in this green circle here that will be in CWAs, and sometimes they're put in a CBA. So we're really working with the program and DOT leadership to look at how are we going to differentiate and make sure we draw those really clean lines. Things that will be in the PLA or the CWA are not the work of this community benefits advisory group. And we want to be really clear and have those boundaries so the right conversations are happening at the right tables with the right expertise. Next slide, please. A little bit about the charter. Next slide. So this is the part of the charter of the community benefits group. It's really both lies in the mitigations of the impacts of this type of construction of a mega project, which you heard some about from the reflections on the tour. And then it's also an important consideration to ensure that this investment aligns with community's future vision. So we're really looking at doing some of that work with this group, as well as with our program partners, envisioning that future and drawing on what we've heard from you all and the CAG. And additionally, we know it's rooted in the historical treatment of equity priority communities. And so that is where you see really that grounding in the equity framework. Next slide, please. So we're looking at a few buckets of community benefits. We have plans and mitigations that may already be included in the program, and we want to make sure to show our work that you all can see, and the Community Benefits Advisory Group can see what the program has listened to and implemented. Then there's program partner conditions that the program continues to work through. There's partner agency contributions. We've spoken with folks at the PMG meetings as well. We want to have some conversations and do some meetings with folks so that we meet with Metro, for example, and have your EAG member as well as your PMG member be a part of a conversation about asset mapping. And so that's something that we have planned for moving forward that you'll be hearing more from us about shortly. And then additionally, we have benefits that may be identified from this advisory group or the community at large. Next slide, please. The structure of the Community Benefits Advisory Group is with balanced representation from Oregon and Washington. I believe you all have seen a request for interested applicants from the EAG. We want to have a representative from both CAG and EAG. We have our co-conveners, our two ESG members with Commissioner Maps from the City of Portland and Marianne with the City of Vancouver. So we also want to have representation from this group as well as CAG. Some of the expertise at the table includes program area residents and business owners, those with workforce development expertise, housing development. We also have culturally specific community-based organizations and businesses, those with a disability rights lens, as well as an environmental justice lens, and folks from Parks and Rec. Next slide, please. Just visually, so you can see this advisory group is added over here along with the EAG and CAG. So the workflow of this group looks the same as it does for others in recommendations going up to the program administrator Johnson, as well as he sees fit to the executive steering group and some of those other potential decision-making tables. Next slide, please. Oh, and that is it for me. So I will move back a little bit, and if there's time for questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions or any there's a lot of important information on the slides. Anything that people want to dig into more? Sabrina?
Thank you, Shannon. This is Sabrina from Metro. I have a comment and a question. Just that my comment is I'm really excited to see this work underway. I think the community benefits process is, where we, I think that the people that this committee has talked about, making sure this bridge serves, I feel like this is where that starts to come together, how we put concrete things in place, mechanisms, investments, policies that are really going to serve the folks that are most impacted by this project and really open up opportunity for community members, both economically and just access to the bridge. And I think that it gives, speaking from the perspective of an agency, I think it gives us a real vehicle for ensuring that there's a place that our commitments to community can live. So I'm really excited about this process, the way that you all put it together, and looking forward to continuing to hear how it develops. I think the one question I have is just what intersections or kind of communication channels will be open between the Community Benefits Committee and the EAG.
Thank you, Sabrina, for that. I think it will both be us coming to this group to present and share back. I'd love that to be not me, but an EAG member who is sitting on the CBAG, who I can support in bringing that information back to this group and having that iterative process between the two. And that's similarly how we envision this work happening with the CAG. So I know that there's, and I don't want to downplay it as a lot of time commitment. I know that folks are already giving time to the EAG, and we just think that's a critical connection point to ensure that communication between the two bodies.
And I should add, so we didn't include the representatives of the partner agencies on this email we sent out, but to the EAG members, besides those, we sent out something with an application, a link to an application if folks were interested in volunteering, and have heard from one of you so far, but definitely we would love to have that natural connection, and like Shannon said, just a good way to keep this group informed, and also to keep the CBAG informed of what this group is doing.
Hi, this is Shona Carter. I had a question about, you mentioned that you were looking to partner with other agencies like Metro for asset mapping. Can you talk a little bit more about what types of agencies that you're looking to partner with to map assets? Like, who are you specifically thinking of?
Absolutely. So we're specifically starting with the identified program partners. So this will be City of Portland, City of Vancouver, Metro, CTRAN, TriMet, the Regional Transportation, RTC, and I don't think I missed anybody, but I know somebody will correct me if I'm wrong. And so part of what we're looking at is what sorts of assets or resources can folks bring to the table. So for example, with the City of Portland, it may be that there is a piece of property with the potential to develop affordable housing. Absolutely not saying this is what it will be, but this is an example. We would want to be able to work with the City of Portland, Portland Housing Bureau staff who have really that technical expertise that we don't hold within the program, and be able to work with them to look at how we develop any recommendations around that type of community benefit. I think that could be for a lot of different technical staff that work at the various agencies that could offer that type of support. It also may be finances. It may be that there is an investment that a partner agency is planning to make in the program area that we want to map out and talk about, and make sure that we're looking at ways to leverage that with the investments of this program. So those are where some of my mind goes, but I, of course, Administrator Johnson, if you have anything to add, please do.
Yeah, a good example came up the other day. Was having a conversation with Mayor Ann in Vancouver, and one of the things that's being looked at is if your house falls within a certain noise level of some of the construction that we're going to have going on, the potential of putting insulation or doing some window replacements. And she mentioned that Clark County Utilities has a program. And that could be a potential partnership that we could leverage to help offset some of the costs of these things. So those are the type of ideas that we're going to be looking for from our partners, to bring other third-party funders or folks who can help make this project holistic. So that's what we're going to be looking for.
Thank you. Those those examples are really good ones. Thank you.
Janelle.
Thank you, Dr. Hahn. And good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to build upon Sabrina's note, which is this is a pretty significant milestone for the program. For those of you who have been with us since the beginning, will recall that we started off with how do we define equity within the context of this program, and how do we have equity objectives that we can hold ourselves accountable to. And so this is really a significant opportunity to operationalize all of the work that this group has been deeply involved in with the program. So I just want to thank you all for getting us to this point. And this really is where the rubber meets the road.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right.
Dr. Hutt, maybe one other comment, because I think Shauna's perspective is a good one. If there are additional folks you might be aware of that we should have, or you might propose that we have asset mapping conversations with, could be community-based organizations or other folks, we're open to that dialogue as well, because reality is it's going to take the whole region to have a collective impact, and there might be other assets that folks want to offer for consideration.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. We are moving ahead of schedule, which is fantastic. So let's take a 5-minute break. So we'll take a bio break. It's 6:25. We'll come back at 6:30. All right. All right, friends. Okay. Well, for those who are watching at home, we are moving quickly, which is great. Remy. And so for those who are watching at home, we are moving quickly, and we have public comment at 7:15 is what we have listed. Most likely public comment will happen earlier, so please be prepared to give public comment about 15 minutes earlier if you are if you choose to do so. All right, so I want to move to Jake with the equity framework update and equity and accountability report out.
Thank you, Dr. Hunt. So as you will recall, we've had a lot of conversations in this group about how we incorporate the equity framework and how we demonstrate that we're doing so to this group as an important accountability and transparency piece. And so we talked to you a few months ago about the equity council the internal equity council that we formed with IBR staff to meet and coordinate on and really support one another in implementing the equity framework. And sort of have that resource and that structure that we realized we needed to make sure that we were being effective in this area. So we have held our first meeting of this group, and we have also gotten memos, which in the form of the equity accountability worksheet that we've shared with you a while ago. So each task area in the program completed this worksheet that asks a series of questions about what they've done over the past quarter to implement the equity framework and to honor the equity objectives. And so it goes through a series of questions for folks to report on as a retrospective. And so I'm going to share the highlights from that. And I want folks to as I'm going through, think about whether this matches up with what you were hoping for as far as kind of reporting out to you. Think about where you do have questions. We've got some discussion questions at the end. Think about where you have questions that maybe aren't answered in this information, ways that we can improve. We really want to get your feedback so that we can continue to make progress in this area. So let me pull this up. All right. So this is not comprehensive of everything that the program has done in the equity arena for the past 3 months, but I think it gives an idea of what's been happening in the different the different teams have been doing. So as Salome talked about during her presentation, there's been a lot of engagement of equity priority communities, used a lot of different methods to do this between attending those fairs and festivals. We've had the community advisory group, of course, and this advisory group, community briefings, this small grant program, equity roundtables, and then also office hours at the IBR office, where folks from the public can come in and take some time to sit down and ask questions of our team about the project and provide feedback in that setting. The way that our program really approaches the communications that we do has really tried to be equity centered. So we make a big effort to have ADA accessibility of all documents as well as the website. the website is also translated automatically into 8 languages besides English. And so those are Spanish, Vietnamese, both traditional and simplified Chinese, Korean, Somali, Russian, and Ukrainian. And we identified those by doing an analysis of the census data that's out there to say what languages are spoken in the program area and the region, in particular, those languages where those communities are higher in what's called limited English proficiency. I'm sure many of you have heard that term of LEP. And so we said, those are the areas the languages that we want to make sure and accommodate so that folks can have that access as conveniently as possible. Now, as a program, we also translate and interpret anything by request that members of the public can do ahead of meetings or of documents, etc. We provide, as you can see and we provide ASL interpretation at public meetings. We have Spanish and English closed captioning. We try to make sure that the information we provide, again, is culturally responsive, accessible, and that includes on social media. So here's a stat for you. So over the last 3 months, program posted some equity-centered content on social media 58 times on the 4 social media platforms, generated 902 total engagements. So we're getting some interaction there with the community on these efforts. Additionally, the program developed a DBE plan, that's disadvantaged business enterprises. Those are minority and women-owned businesses, small businesses, that we will be really aggressively trying to bring into the program, especially as we move into design and construction, so that we can make sure that those firms get the opportunities that come with this huge investment. So developed a DBE plan to help meet the general engineering consultant's aspirational goal, which is above and beyond what's mandatory, what's required of us in terms of that participation. A big part of this plan is helping to build the capacity of those firms so that they can participate in the program, getting ahead of time with folks and seeing where the needs are so that they can bid on contracts, so that they are equipped to do the work. Again, we want to make sure it's not just big companies that benefit from the billions of dollars that are going to go into this project, into the various projects that are part of this program. So a lot of strategies there that we're also happy to talk more about. So the draft supplemental environmental impact statement, I'll just call it the draft document that we've been talking about and is coming out early or midwinter. So our team, as in the equity team, coordinated with the environmental team who's leading that process, the transportation team, to do a really thorough analysis of the potential benefits and impacts on equity priority communities that the modified LPA looks to have. So how does access increase by the investment in the new light rail line? How does that improve access for folks to reach jobs and services within a certain amount of time that today either they can't reach by transit or it would take a really long time. So we looked at those improvements for transit as well as for driving, and driving being a little less impactful because of the aux lane options are not going to obviously change your commute from 30 minutes down to 5 minutes, but there will be some differences in the model. So did that as part of this, and that's going to be coming out and publicly accessible for comment and review. But an important analysis to say who's benefiting and to what degree. as well as potential impacts that could result. We don't have all the information about where property impacts might occur, et cetera, but we have some ideas that we looked at. Again, that'll be available in the document. Additionally, I mentioned the equity is actually the Equity and Climate Council. We combined with the climate team to have this under one meeting because of the overlaps between them that we think are important to talk about at the same time, and because the program is really centering equity and climate. So we want to make sure that those are done hand in hand, given equal weight. And of course, there's just a big Venn diagram there of overlap. So that group, like I said, is to build internal capacity and ensure that we're implementing the framework. And this is this report out is something that group supports and works towards. Shannon talked about the Community Benefits Advisory Group, so I won't go over that more, other than to say, it's really supportive of that community benefits equity objective that we have, and then as well as the other at a high level of that objective, but then the specific other objectives and how we can further those with partners and as a program. So those are some high level happenings, activities over the past 3 months. A lot more is going on, and I think this was a good first round of the various program teams reporting on what they've done and figuring out, okay, we're going to be reporting on this. So going forward, what can we expect to those questions to be that we'll answer? How do we make sure that we build upon this foundation and really, have a strong foundation on the equity framework throughout everything that this program does. So we wanted to ask you, in getting this quick and dirty overview, how does this report out I just gave, how does that align or not with your expectations around what the information we provide to you on equity framework implementation? Are there areas of the program like disciplines that you would like more information about of what they are doing? We have the various teams. We have transportation planning, we have transit, we have environmental, we have finance, a lot of different components, a lot of staff involved. So wherever you might be interested in more information, we're happy to provide that. And then finally, what recommendations do you have for us to continue to do this, to grow upon this and improve as we go? It's obviously a learning process for all of us. We want to make sure that we've got the best thinking and the best recommendations. And I think this group can be really valuable in that way. So I'll leave those questions up there for a minute for you to gather some thoughts. And then Dr. Hunt, I'll turn it to you to facilitate that discussion.
Great. Thank you, Jake. So I think, Vicky.
Jake, when you were listing the languages that you were interpreting for the materials, I was curious, it came to mind that I'm wondering about the Russian language. I think during the pandemic, I was asked to meet with a couple people who were starting a Russian chamber organization. I think they have started one in the Portland metro area, but there seems to be a fairly significant community. And I think there are quite a few who are in the construction trades or doing construction, particularly on small commercial or residential. So I don't know if that's come
Yeah,
up.
yeah. I went listed them really fast, but yes, Russian is one of the standard languages that our website is translated into and is one of our priority languages under that policy. So certainly there's strong Russian community, and one thing that we've learned in engaging the Slavic community in general, this bridge is particularly impactful because there are strong communities on both sides of the river, and so there's a lot of travel back and forth. In that has particularly stood out amongst the many communities that we've spoken with. But if you were also, with some of those connections you have to those communities, and if you're talking like workforce and businesses, please reach out, provide those. We've got a team that's doing outreach to firms as part of this capacity building thing. So
and how do they fit into the DBE definition?
So the DBE is a certification that, and Aiden or John L, correct me if I bungle this, but it's any firm that's you have to be 51% or more owned by a person of color or woman. And I don't know about the size requirements there, but it's a federal designation that folks have to get certified in. We also don't want to just exclude our outreach and strategies towards only those who are certified. So there's strategy and some work we're doing in addition to help folks, if they want to be certified, help them get there, but also make sure that even those who aren't, we can ensure they have access as well. And anything else you would add there, Aiden or John L?
I think you covered it. I was going to see if Aiden was going to jump in. I think you covered it, Jake. And there's going to be opportunities, I think, robust opportunities across the board for firms. Obviously, our goal will be to get firms to the degree that they're comfortable certified as DBEs, but also small firms and firms that perhaps may have other designations.
Yes, and I can add to that. Sorry, my microphone wasn't working. So yes, if there are other populations that don't fit the federal definition of minorities, there is always a workaround where those can put in a reasoning to the federal government to get themselves under that group of minorities. So please feel free to contact me if you want to know the federal definition, stuff like that. I've seen we don't have a chat button. Otherwise, I would just drop the definition in the chat. But happy to answer any questions you have, Vicki, around this. So thank you so much.
And when Aiden said that, I realized that I don't think I totally got your question and your point. That I don't know that. I don't think Slavic communities count as minority.
Not in the federal definition,
right?
No, but like I said, if it is a large enough population, they do have a workaround. But outside of that, for this program, we have DBE requirements for our federal funds, but we're going above and beyond to also make sure that other groups have opportunities in this project. So not to exclude them.
Albert and then Nikki.
Thank you. So I guess my questions were around the language translations as well. I understand you've got the 8 languages that are automatically translated, and I was kind of curious as to how they are being translated. Also, more importantly than that is at what reading level the translations are at. And then as you're talking about the reading level for the main English report, has there been consideration or care or attention focused on plain language and making sure that it's accessible to as many readers as possible?
I think I can speak a little bit to this. On the reading level, both English and other languages, I know that's a focus for us that we aim for. I don't know that we have a specific policy, but I'm going to look at Salome to see if we aim for, I think, an 8th grade reading level?
We typically aim for a 7th grade level, Albert. And to your question, when we look at the level of understanding, it's why we specifically chose a vendor that is in the region to help with localization of the translations, to make sure folks are getting the information, but getting it in a way that they can understand and also retain. We aim for people being able to retain the information that is being translated, not simply just regurgitating, if you will, or word for word translation. The other thing is we work with a local vendor as well to make sure that as we are getting materials translated and or interpreted, that the folks who are doing the translation also understand the content as well. And we can work with the same people to make sure that the information is consistent, that we are getting translated. And we know that with automated translations, there is that level of error that is included in how it translates, especially if there's words that can have multiple meanings to them, or things such as idioms. So we try to limit, if not erase the use of idioms and things that we know are going to be translated, as well as have folks look at it with that human eye perspective of, this is going to go through a translator that is most likely going to be automated. What are some things that we can mitigate to make sure that our translation is giving us the best that we can get? And then also making sure that if it's materials in which we're looking for input, and that we really want to make sure our folks understand, especially materials in our listening sessions and forums and such, we have those translated by an actual person. And so there's a lot of consideration that goes into our translation of the materials. As folks know, English is not my first language, and so I'm very passionate about that being a very important part of the program. And I know that looking for the release, we are already planning ahead on what we need to do to make sure that we have translated materials at the same time available as our English, so folks have the same amount of time to digest the information, regardless if they're looking at it in English or Russian or Turkish for that matter. And so we are planning, and it is a part of our community engagement work, kept in the center and the forefront of our brains. And I definitely think that as we move forward, we're going to be making sure that our fact sheets and other materials are provided with that lens of, is this, one, understandable, two, what is the reading level in which we're asking folks to be able to retain, and three, is this information presented in a way to where someone who reads it in a different language can then pass it along to somebody else and explain it to somebody else as well in their community. Because not enough just for one person to understand, but the ability for them to retain and pass along is another important aspect of the work.
Nikki.
Salome, wow, that was amazing. And a great breakdown. Great. Thank you for that. And I also wanted to just share with everyone that the City of Vancouver, specifically the Office of Equity and Inclusion, is currently, this is month 2 of our 10-month project with our LAP program. So we are literally in the process of doing a language access plan right now, City of Vancouver. So that information will be ready to share on our side of the bridge, probably somewhere around March or April, that we can definitely share with all of you, so that way it can help for the process of sharing this information.
And Nikki, to that point, if there's anything that we can do to share any of our practices or be supportive of that effort, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Yes, and they are also looking for currently any activities that are going on that they can go out to participate in and try to get community feedback and information on what it's looking for. So yes, both sides, we will gladly take that. Thank you.
One last thing I'll add that I think Jake kind of touched on a little bit is that our website does translate into 8 languages other than English, but we do have languages that we identified being unique to this region, where we have a considerable population amount that, even though our website does not translate automatically to those languages, we do prepare ourselves to provide translation into those languages. So an example of that would be Turkish, where our automated software isn't quite there yet to automatically translate into Chuukese, but we do take it into consideration and do prep and plan for getting that translated as well at folks' request.
Sabrina.
Thank you. It's great to hear about how thorough the language access is being addressed in this program. So thank you all for that work. Jake, I think to your question about kind of the report out on implementation, it was that I think this report out was helpful. I think that just kind of reflecting over the last, how long have we been at this? 2 years, something like that. I can't remember.
3 years.
Almost 3.
3. Oh my goodness.
This is meeting number 30.
Where's our treats? I want a treat. I got distracted. Okay. I think that a lot of where this lands is kind of how the different project teams come to this committee. So I do feel like the report out you just did was helpful. And I think kind of where I would like to see it most is kind of how folks are using the framework in the lead up to their engagement with the EAG and for their presentations to communicate how they've wrestled with that in their work. So I think this was like a good step in the right direction. And I think kind of continuing to push and demonstrate kind of how it's being embedded in all the teams, the design, the other parts, I think would be good. Thank you.
Absolutely. I think that's a great call. And hopefully, yeah, as we in particular, like I keep on talking about the Equity Council, I'm just excited about you know, how that really does create better infrastructure for this. And so hopefully, yeah, we do get more in the vein of what you just said, Sabrina.
And Jake, if I could, Dr. Hunt, sorry about that.
Keep going, keep going.
I was just going to say, if I can just point out, and again, my role tonight is just to continue to thank you all. This is another example of how your feedback in real time was helpful. We heard the EAG in terms of, you know, how do you really operationalize the equity framework? And we really want the program to react and respond to the framework. And that resulted in the council, the Internal Equity Council. So again, your connectivity to the program, I think, has just been really great. And this is just another example of how your feedback has resulted in something that's going to, again, continue to help us achieve our equity, our stated equity objectives.
You know, a question from the slide, from Jake's slide, was what recommendations do you have for the program to continue to integrate the framework throughout all activities and decisions? Are there other recommendations that you all have? Are there areas of concern that you would like more information about? Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, well, we have moved very quickly. We are most efficient. And
Doctor,
so, yes.
Doctor, real quick, there was one piece I forgot to mention as part of, so on the equity framework, we are updating it, and it's due for an update. And so we are in the process of, first, we're engaging the tribes better this time around. That was one thing that we identified we needed to do better after the last one. So we're engaging with them And then we will have an updated draft to share with this group to get your comments and feedback. And so watch for that. That will probably be coming your way next month. And then we can hopefully, you know, incorporate lessons learned over the past, couple years of having this thing be our guiding document. So wanted to put that plug out there so that you're starting to think about it.
Sabrina.
What other areas of the framework are you thinking about updating or kind of have in mind for that?
Yeah, I think one piece that and this is also something to have on your radar. You know, we've talked about and we've brought draft key performance indicators to this group. And that was something that in the framework, we really were like, you know, we want to have these measures of success. And over time, we developed more and more. So we want to finalize those. And I think bringing those into the piece of the framework is going to be a big piece. I think we also, you know, we have a lot of questions in this overall kind of equity lens table in there. And I think we want to revisit and say, you know, do we need some more specificity to this? Is this, do we need to more formally incorporate this into our processes? You know, things like that, just to say, are we living up to this? If not, how can we? Do we need some more specific language? Are there some questions about, like, you know, we said this in the document, but it wasn't quite what happened in reality, you know, just trying to improve upon this. Does that make sense?
Yes, great. Sounds good.
Sorry to interrupt you, Dr. Hunt, but back to you.
I guess one thought that I did have was, you know, just the importance of documenting the work that's being done, because it is unique and it is charting a path forward that can be emulated. And I just thinking about that. So let's go to public comment. Let me read the public comment instructions. We are early. We're 12 minutes early. And for our public comment instructions through Zoom, please use the link located in the meeting description on the YouTube meeting page or on the IBR EAG meeting webpage. Commentators will be allowed to turn on their webcams, but will not be allowed to share their screens and will be removed from the room once the public comment period concludes. By phone, dial 253-215-8782, meeting ID 986-0940-5983, passcode 701376, dial *9 to raise your hand, dial *6, to unmute yourself. The facilitator will call on participants to provide comment. Please provide your name and affiliation. Commentators will be given 2 minutes to speak. All right. Next slide. Comment instructions. To submit comment after the meeting, fill out the comment form on the program website or email your comments to info@interstatebridge.org with EAG Public Comment in the subject line. Call 888-503-6735 and state EAG public comment in your message. All written comments must be received prior to 48 hours in advance of each upcoming meeting in order to be distributed to the advisory group members. Comments received after that point will be distributed to members in advance of their next meeting. So Brent, do we have any people in the wait room?
We do not have anyone signed up at this time.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't want to just have us hanging out. Let's wrap up, and we will have our next meeting is November 20th, 5:30 to 7:30. Brent will put the meeting evaluation. We'll put that up, and per usual, 3 takeaways from our time together. So 3 takeaways from our time. Sabrina.
I'm gonna cheat and say 2. One is that my son was sitting on the floor through most of this meeting, and he enjoyed seeing the other children and babies and on screen. So nice job, working moms. And I think it's been 3 years. This is long work, but it's great to see these milestone moments and the progress along the way.
Yeah.
So I'll go for a second one.
Yes, please.
I think that these meetings, and I know that I haven't been to all 30 of them, are well attended with a lot of community input. And I think that between the consultants and community members here, that a lot of people really do care about how this moves forward and want to really truly ensure that there is equity baked into every part of the decision. And I really just want to applaud the team for putting together these meetings for us and providing all the information necessary for us to get a clear sense of what's going on and enable us to provide our input as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Barbie.
I would love to tag on what Albert says. I really appreciate all of the information and the explanatory pieces. And that leads me to my takeaway. The first one is that I really love the framework that Jake provided around the equity framework and the accountability. And I think it's a really solid foundational start. And I'm really excited to hear more about the council and what that report out will look like, what that cadence will look like, what elements will be in that report as it's integrated into the report for this group. My other takeaway is the community benefits without overwhelming myself. I'm super interested in helping out with that. So I have to pace myself, but it sounds really, really amazing. I'm really like what is being centered on. And so I'm super excited about that. And then also the assets. I made a lot of notes around assets mapping and thinking about the partners that I currently work with and what different programs and projects that they are working on that could be that could dovetail. And there's one specifically, a community group, ELSO, and they are focusing on their youth design forum, and specifically in the Albina corridor. And I think that there may be some alignment there, but that's just one that just came right up to the top of my head. So I just really appreciate the format. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. All right, so we are going to close and we will see you in November. All the best, everyone.
Thank you,
Stay safe.
everyone.
Thank you,
Dr.
everybody.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks all.
Yeah, well done. Have a good evening.